Once again, the Supreme Court has issued an outrageous ruling that not only negatively affects us in the present, but surely will affect future generations, as they have ruled ex-presidents have broad immunity against criminal prosecution, therefore basically making it impossible that Donald Trump can go on trial before his election for trying to overthrow the US government or for trying to sell our nuclear secrets to foreign nationals. So this is wild. You'll see headlines saying that Trump has complete immunity, and that's not necessarily true. We're going to get into the details, but it's still just honestly kind of baffling to me. So what they ruled was that former presidents have some immunity from prosecution, therefore extending the delay in the Washington criminal trial against Donald Trump, where he planned to overthrow the election. So the ruling was a 6-3 split, right with the conservative majority. It was completely across ideological lines, and it would be the second time the Supreme Court has ruled curiously in favor of the president that appointed so many of them. So Chief Justice Roberts writes, under our constitutional structure of separated powers, the nature of presidential power entitles a former president to absolute immunity from criminal prosecutions for actions within his conclusive and preclusive constitutional authority. And he follows up to say that he is entitled to at least presumptive immunity from prosecution for all his official acts, and there is no immunity for unofficial acts. So unofficial or personal acts while taken as a president, you don't get immunity for. The problem therein is that they didn't define what is official or unofficial. So basically the goal here is that anytime you want to prosecute a president, or this president in particular, and somebody wants to say, well, this act wasn't within his powers or his official authority, this was an unofficial act. Well, guess what? That's going to get kicked back up to the Supreme Court to decide. The 3 liberal justices dissented. Sotomayor had some very, very spicy ones. I'm going to show you a couple of quotes from her because for some reason the Associated Press chickened out and didn't have the spiciest one. It says, because our Constitution does not shield a former president from answering for criminal or treasonous acts, I dissent. It makes a mockery of the principle foundational to our Constitution and system of government that no man is above the law. So this is, I pulled from X a little bit more of her dissent. She says near the bottom, moving forward, however, all former presidents will be cloaked in such immunity. If the occupant of the office misuses official power for personal gain, the criminal law that the rest of us must abide to will not provide a backstop. And then she says at the bottom, with fear for our democracy, I dissent. I have never, ever seen anything like that in a Supreme Court decision dissent. With fear for our democracy, I dissent. That's just absolutely wild and scary to me. Some people are saying, yes, Trump can still go to trial. Prosecutor Jack Smith can claim that his acts were unofficial since he was no longer president and they didn't have anything to do with his presidential duties. But that'll probably, again, go back up to the Supreme Court. The Republicans are saying that this is great for justice and freedom, and that presidents, I don't think they mean Biden, I think they mean Trump, should have this type of immunity. It's scary because it gives Biden a broad swath of immunity for any sort of crazy actions that he wanted to do. I think, God, I'm just very frustrated by this. I feel like I'm living in Bizarro world. The Supreme Court rules we can't regulate pollution. It's illegal to be homeless. Presidents are immune. Women have to be forced to give birth. It's like every month or two, there's just like another wild ruling that came out of the 1600s that makes no sense for reality, while they just bend over backwards to do acrobatics to try to entertain Daddy Trump. Some good news today is that scientists have invented nanobots that kill cancer cells in mice with a hidden weapon that causes instant cell death. Now, this is the official paper where DNA robotic switch regulated autonomous display of cytotoxic ligand nanopatterns explains how this very interesting type of tubular structure within the nanobots actually annihilates cancer. But I'm going to be honest with you all, this one is a little bit above my pay grade to properly explain in, 2 minutes or less here on TikTok. So what we're going to do is move over to a summary article. You can actually see how affected the mice are with these nanobots. Basically, the way this works is that they have a weapon hidden inside the nanostructure of the bot that is exposed only in a tumor microenvironment, thus sparing healthy cells. It combines a couple of new technologies. The first one is a death receptor on the surface of cells. It's something that is this very weird tubular hexagonal pattern, which we actually saw in this article, is the thing that actually kills the cells almost instantly. But what's important about this is that they use DNA folding to make nanoscale structures, kind of like DNA origami, such that that is hidden until the medicine finds itself inside of a tumor environment. Now, what's interesting about this is the way they do that is that tumors have lower pH or acidic microenvironments than surrounds the normal cells. So at a certain pH, let's say, I'm using my hands like an idiot here, the bad things inside the bot are contained. But in a different pH environment, that actually changes the binding on the DNA to cause it to fold and change in a different way and open up, such that these death structures are revealed and the cells die almost instantly. This massively reduced tumor growth. It was killing cancer right and left. It was extremely effective in mice. The thing you need to be wary of here, though, is that when you're applying this to thousands, maybe millions of humans, everybody's body is a little different and weird. There could be somebody who just naturally has a lower pH or some disorder that affects their pH or causes it to rise or fall for reasons that are unknown, and that's a health problem all on its own. But if a person like that were to take this medication, it would probably just kill them. So there's a lot of testing to do in the future, especially safety testing to make sure that these tubes don't destroy people. But this is a very promising step. Hurricane Beryl is not only powerful, but it's also historic. Right now, it's rampaging its way through the Caribbean toward the Windward Islands. And why is it historic? Why does this matter at all? It's just a hurricane. Well, its early formation, rapid intensification, and location are all record-breaking. It's too big, too strong, too early, too fast, and it's coming immediately after NOAA predicted that we're in for a brutal hurricane season. I pulled this article from NPR. I think we've actually already covered it, but they predicted this to be the most active and most destructive hurricane season ever. So much so that climate scientists are wanting to change the scale of our hurricanes to include a Category 6, because they believe in the near future we're going to have too many Category 5 hurricanes. And on top of that, there's no upper limit on Category 5. There's going to be so many of them that go so far beyond the upper limit that it's going to need a new classification. So since 2013, 10 years ago, we've already had 5 storms that would qualify for a Category 6 storm. We just didn't even have a category to put them in. Yeah, the NOAA prediction is pretty brutal. We're looking at Category 6s instead of 5s. This hurricane is formed early. It's going to devastate the Caribbean. I don't know what it's going to do to America. But yeah, the decades of burying our head in the sand like an ostrich to not even think about climate change are starting to catch up to us. The consequences of our own actions. Yes, that Lego brick you're looking at right there in the middle of the video is indeed made out of meteorite dust, making it the only meteorite Lego or the only space-based Lego on the planet. And it's a very cool thing. We're going to swap over to a video that shows you a lot of close-ups in a minute. And it was created in partnership with the European Space Agency. They decided to contract with Lego to do some nice PR work to promote building permanent structures on the moon, which we're still very far away from being able to actually do. But depending on what Lego store you're at, you might be able to see one of these bricks that we have a close-up of. Now, as you may notice, this looks a lot like a 3D printed brick. That's because it is. It's made with meteorite dust that has been embedded in a polymer, and then that polymer has been 3D printed into a Lego shape and made available for display. So I think it's very, very cool. I like how they transport it in these like really safe, secure metal boxes. These are probably the most rare, expensive Lego bricks on the planet, and I think it's very, very cool. The entire thing is really just, there's not like a lot of science to it. You know, we're not building Legos on the moon. We're not doing anything incredible, but this is the kind of thing that Lego's great at, is inspiring wonder in children to add some hope, some inspiration, some little mental stimuli for the next generation of future astronauts that will probably be tasked with building structures on the moon.